Hello everyone and welcome to Solidworks Station Live. Today we're going to be going through a beginner's guide to modelling. Just going to wait to see if there's a few more people that join us, and then we're going to go through the contents of what we're going to be doing today, and then we'll open up Solidworks and I'll talk you through the basics behind this modelling program. Okay, so we'll look to start at about 12:05. Give it another 2 or 3 minutes for people to join us, and then we'll start with the short tutorial around the beginner's guide to SolidWorks. So whilst I've got a few people with me, I'll go through what we're doing today, and if there's any other people that join me, I'll have a little bit of a recap. So what we're going to be covering today is I've put a table of contents about what we're going to be covering in this particular tutorial. So we're looking at an overview of the software. We're going to talk about reference planes and reference geometry. We'll be looking at smart dimensioning and the basics behind smart dimensioning in SolidWorks. We'll be looking at extruding 2D sketches that we produce and making those into 3D objects that we can orbit around. We'll be looking at extruded cuts, circular patterns, fillets and chamfers, how to use the view cube and look at your model from certain angles. We'll be looking at adding appearances and scenes to our final model, adding cameras, and how to render this as well. We'll finish this with a final render to produce what you see on the screen now, which is a 50 by 50 by 50 cube that's had a few extruded cuts, a few fillets added to it. An appearance has been given to that, a camera's been added, and it's been rendered out as well. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Just going to see if there's anyone else that joins us, and then we'll start. I am going to be recording this as well, so I'm recording this separately. So if people don't get to make it, I know there's a few people that can't make it today due to one thing or another, but I am recording it as well, so this will get posted onto the Solidworks Station YouTube page, and you'll get to see this as well. So, okay, we'll make a start. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up SolidWorks, and I'm just going to show you how to get started to produce this particular cube. So I'm in SolidWorks 2019, and the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start right from a novice level. Okay, so we're going to go up to File, the top, and we're going to choose New. Try and get used to these shortcut keys because they do help. Control N will do exactly the same thing and get you onto this dialog box that I've got in front of me now. There's three options here. Okay, I can choose Part, Assembly, or Drawing. By selecting each one of those, it will take me into a different area of SolidWorks. I'm going to explain each of them separately, and then we'll go actually into this one, Part, and that's where we'll start to draw up our 3D cube. So what happens with Part is, if I take an example of a computer mouse is made up of several parts. It's made up of a scroll wheel, it's made up of a top face, a bottom face, a lead, maybe a USB or some kind of jack on the end of the mouse to plug in, and all those are different parts. These parts then come together once built in SolidWorks to form an assembly. This is where all the parts get fixed together in order to create a final 3D arrangement. From here, we would use drawings in order to produce mechanical engineering drawings, other engineering drawings in order to help with manufacture. These will have dimensions on them, angles, materials, tolerances, that kind of stuff. So that's all done in this section. These feed nicely into each other, so parts feed into assemblies and assemblies feed into drawings, and this is where you'll produce your final orthographic drawings, isometric drawings, manufacturing drawings that will help produce the product. So we're going to go into part. Before we do, I'm just going to highlight this bit here, which is SolidWorks tutorials. This is a great area to go to and click on for basic, intermediate and advanced tutorials within SolidWorks. They provide great lessons in this section here. So we're going to click on part and we're going to go to OK. Right, from here, what we're going to do is I'm going to talk to you about these planes here. So we've got some planes on the left hand side. We've got our front plane, we've got our top plane, and we've got our right plane. We can draw in these planes, it's called sketching in SolidWorks. We can choose to sketch in these planes, and we can also choose to look at these planes at a normal to view, and I'm going to explain how that looks. So at the moment, if I click on my front plane, okay, it's at a bit of an angle. Okay, I want that front plane to face me, so I'm going to click on this normal to button here. Okay, and what that does is it spins that plane round to face me directly, so I can draw on that particular plane. I'm going to sketch on this plane now, so I'm going to go into the sketch tab and I'm going to go to sketch. You can see how the ribbon has changed as soon as I've done that. Let me just go out of that. I'm going to exit the sketch. I'm going to do that again. So front plane, I've gone normal to, but I want to sketch. Watch the ribbon change. This is the ribbon at the top. Watch it change. So sketch. Okay, and there's things that have started to change in there. I'm going to choose to go for a center rectangle, and I'm going to draw this from my origin point. Because we're in sketch mode, okay, we have an origin point that has appeared. Okay, we have a y-axis, which is the red arrow pointing up, and a x-axis, which is the red arrow pointing this way. If I hover my pencil over the center of that origin point, I get a little orange dot. That tells me that my pencil has snapped to 0, 0. Okay, right between the x and the y-axis. I'm going to left click, move my mouse out, and I'm going to left click again. Notice I didn't put any dimensions in. I could put my dimensions over here where it says parameters. However, I find it much easier to go to my smart dimension icon up here, left click on this line, and let's dimension this at 50 millimeters and green tick. I know I'm in millimeters because if I look down here, I can see mmgs, which stands for millimeters, grams and seconds. If you want to do this in inches, if you're using an imperial measurement, you can choose IPS, standing for inches, pounds and seconds. We've smart dimensioned this line. Let's go ahead and smart dimension this line. We want this also to be at 50 millimeters. From here, we can change this 2D sketch into a 3D object, and it's very easy to do. What usually happens in SolidWorks, no matter what you're designing, you usually start off with a sketch and turn that sketch into a 3D object. So we've been in sketch mode and we're now going to transfer into the features tab. So I'm going to left click on the features tab and I'm going to choose this first icon within the ribbon, which is extruded boss base. So I'm going to left click on that and notice what happens on the screen. It's giving me now a preview of what a 10mm extrude will look like on my model. However, I don't want 10mm in there. I want this to be a cube, so I want 50mm in there. And if I left click back on the screen in this space, anywhere in this space, it will give me a preview of what that looks like. Now, although this is a 50 by 50 by 50 cube, I'm not happy where this extrude starts and finishes. It starts here, okay, and it's been extruded and it ends here. I want to do this around the mid plane. So where I've got blind at the moment, I'm going to change this to mid plane. I want to keep this as symmetric as I possibly can. So I'm going to choose mid plane, 50, and then I'm happy with it, so I'm going to choose the green tick. I can orbit around this model now just by holding in my middle mouse button and moving my mouse around. Okay, and I can orbit around this cube that I've produced. You're probably wondering why this blue square is still visible. If I just left click away from that, okay, it will disappear. What we're going to do next is we're going to talk about how to place an extruded cut into this particular cube. So just going back to the table of contents, we've talked about the overview of the software, we've talked about parts, we've talked about assemblies, and we've talked about drawings. I've talked to you about your top planes, your front planes and your right planes, and how to go to normal 2 and how to start a sketch. We've talked about smart dimensioning, a little bit of how to smart dimension your lines when you sketch. You can actually smart dimension angles as well, okay, but we might do that in another live tutorial. We've looked at extruding this 2D shape. It was a 50 by 50 line drawing, and we've transferred that line drawing to become a boss extrude of 50 around the midplane. So we've looked at the extrude of the sketch to turn it into a 3D model. We're now going to look at extruded cuts, and I'm going to talk to you about circular patterns as well. So we're going to cover these two bits next, so extruded cuts and circular patterns. So let's just jump back into Solidworks. So this has been an extruded boss base. I'm now going to show you how to produce a cut through. So I'm going to click on the surface that I'm interested in, and I'm going to go normal 2. Okay, remember what that normal 2 button does? It brings that face to face me directly. Okay, a quick way of doing that, let me just orbit around my model again. Another quick way of doing that is to select the face that I'm interested in and press the control button and the number 8 on your keyboard at the same time, and that will have the same outcome. I'm going to go to sketch, and I'm going to go to sketch up here, and I'm sketching a circle. Okay, and I'm going to start from my origin point. I'm going to sketch out, and I'm going to make this 40 millimeters. Okay, at the moment it's 40.2. I'm going to change that to 40 and then green tick. Now that I've got that sketch on that face, what I can choose to do is make a feature again out of that, but I'm not going to choose extruded boss base. I'm going to choose extruded cut. So I'm going to click on extruded cut, and you'll notice here that the direction that this is going in is blind. Okay, we can increase that, we can decrease that, and notice the direction that the arrow is going in. If we wanted to cut material that was this way, we haven't got any at the moment, we've no material on this side, but if we wanted to cut through that, we could flip the direction, reverse direction, and it would cut this way. If I click the green tick here, okay, I will come with an error because there is no material to cut. It's saying it cannot cut through something that's not there, basically. So we're going to reverse the direction again, cut into the model, but we're going to choose, instead of blind, we're going to choose through all, and that's going to cut all the way through that cube. And I'm going to click on the green tick, and we can see what we've produced. Now, you could go ahead and click on these surfaces, go normal 2, and go and get a sketch, sketch a circle, and sketch another circle on this side. You could smart dimension it up like we've just done at 40. You could make a feature out of it. You could extrude cut it. Okay, and you could choose through all, and you could keep doing that if you wanted to. However, I'm going to show you another way that you could do this. So I'm just going to right click on this extruded cut that I've just performed, and I'm going to select delete. So I've got what I started with. Okay, I've also got this sketch. Okay, I don't want that anymore, so I'm going to right click that and choose delete. What I'm going to show you is something called a circular pattern. Just makes things a little bit quicker should you have quite a lot of something to do that's in a circular array. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my right plane, hold down control and my top plane. I'm going to go up to reference geometry in the features tab, and I'm going to choose axis and green tick. I'm going to do right plane and top plane. I'm going to go to reference geometry and axis and green tick. And I'm going to do the same with the top plane and the front plane. I'm going to go to Reference Geometry, Axis, and green tick. And what you notice now is I've got an axis right in the center of that circle facing each way. What I can do now is I can go to Linear Pattern, Circular Pattern, and I can choose to pattern this feature around an axis. So the axis here where it says direction 1, I want to pattern this around this axis. Okay, the feature that I want to the feature and the face that I want to actually circular pattern is going to be this cut extrude, and I want not that axis, just clear that. Okay, I want this axis, there we go, and I want, just clear that, delete. Okay, the feature or face that I want to circular pattern is this one, and you can see what it's done. Okay, because I've got 2 in here and 90 degrees, okay, it's going to pattern this in a circular motion and produce another one through this side. So I can green tick that. Okay, I can then do it again, so I can say I want to linear pattern, circular pattern. The axis this time is going to be this one. Okay, and it's picked up the feature that I want. It's producing 2 of them at 90 degrees and green tick. Okay, so that is another way of doing it. You can draw it on every surface, or you can choose to circular pattern them. Now, these are probably becoming a little bit in the way now, so we're going to remove these. So we've got a little eye tool up here. I'm going to just choose to turn off my view axis. Okay, and they just disappear. They're still over here. This is known as the feature manager. They're still over here, so I've still got all 3 of them there. However, because I've chosen to turn them off here, they disappear. Okay, just make things a little bit easier to see. From here, we're going to apply some fillets. So in the features tree, the features tab, we've got the fillet command. However, you'll notice that there's a black arrow underneath it. This tells us that there's embedded commands beneath this. So if I click on this one, I get 2. Linear pattern, I get multiple options to choose from. So anything with a black triangle underneath it suggests that there's something beneath that I can choose as an additional option. So I'm going to choose fillet. The fillet type, I'm going to choose this one for the time being, so constant fillet type, and I want to fillet this face. So I want to fillet it by 5mm, so I'm going to put 5 in there, and then I'm going to click on this face. And you can see it's giving me a preview because I've got full preview selected here. If I had no preview selected, it wouldn't show me. Full preview, it's giving me an example of what this will look like with a 5mm face fillet. I'm going to go ahead and select the other faces. So I've got 5 selected here, so I'm just looking for my final one to select. If you're struggling, okay, to find it, like I am now, just green tick it. Have a little look round. Looks like it's got them all there. Okay, super. Right, what we can do from here is I'm going to show you a few other things. So let's go back to our contents list. Okay, so we've done the overview, we've done reference planes, smart dimension extrudes, extrude cuts, we've looked at circular patterns, and we've looked at fillets. Okay, I'm going to show you now how to use the view cube, how to view your model from certain directions. I'll then move on to adding an appearance and some scenes to it. Then we'll look at adding a camera, and then finally we'll look at rendering this out to look something similar to what I've got on the screen, on the content screen here. So let's move back into Solidworks and let's go through the view cube, viewing from different angles, and then we'll move on to the appearances, scenes and cameras. Okay, so in SolidWorks you can look at this from several views. You don't have to use your mouse and your mouse wheel and zoom in and zoom out. So that's me just scrolling in and out with my mouse wheel. Okay, you can press that mouse wheel in and you can move around the model. Okay, to look at it from different directions. You can use the arrow keys on your keyboard. Okay, to move around your model. You can also use the control button on your keyboard and the numbers 1 through to 8. So control 1 would look at a front view, 2 would look at the rear view, 3 would be a side view, as would 4, 5 would be a top view, 6 would be a view from beneath. So go through it again. So front view, back view, left view, right view, top view is control and 5, bottom view control and 6, control and 7 is the isometric, and control 8 will be the normal 2 view. You can also use something what's known as the view cube. This is what I use quite a lot. So let me just press control 7 just to get that isometric view, and then I can press the spacebar key. Now the spacebar key allows me to look at this, which is known as a view cube. I can use this to look at a particular section, so I could choose to pick this and it would look from that view. Press the spacebar again, I could pick another part of this view cube and it would look from there. Okay, I could choose one of these planes and it would look from there. However, I can also choose to use this box as well, and if I hover over each one of them, it tells me the front view is control 1, control 3 is left view, top view is control 5. Okay, so there's lots of things to look at here. One that I like to use is this one, okay, which is 4 view. If I press Alt, Shift and V on my keyboard, or click on this button, so Alt, Shift and V, this brings up 4 different viewing planes. So I can look at the front view, the left view, and this is a trimetric view. However, if I wanted to change this, I could just click into this view and choose to look at it from a different angle. So I might choose in here isometric. I could also change its display style in this view. So I could do shaded. Okay, I could do wireframe, hidden lines removed, hidden lines visible, wireframe. Okay, so you can change the way that you view an object in here as well. Just going to press the spacebar again. I'm just going to go to a single view. Okay, let's look at adding some appearances to this. So over here on the right hand side you'll see like a beach ball, which is the appearances, scenes and decals. I'm going to left click on that and you'll see over here on the right hand side I've got my appearances, my scenes and my decals. I'm going to go into appearances and I'm going to choose a plastic for this. Okay, different plastics that I've got available. Okay, I'm going to go with a soft touch plastic and I'm going to choose this red soft touch plastic here, and I literally left click, move my mouse across, my left mouse button is still pressed in, and I just release my left mouse button once I'm over the top of the object, like so. Now I can apply that appearance to the face, the fillets or the whole body. I'm going to choose the body, like so. So that's appearances. There's loads of appearances in here. Alright, there's plastics, there's metals, painted, rubber, glass, solids, lights, fabrics, organic, so you're looking at wood, water, loads of things to choose from in there. So you could make a polished beach. Let's have a go with that. Just drop that on. And we'll put that to the whole body. Okay, so loads of things you could have a go at there. You can also change the scene. So the scene is the whitish grey looking bit in the background. When I come to render this out, it's good to maybe have a little bit of a nice scene in the background. So I can go into scenes, I can go to maybe a basic scene and choose to have this one, backdrop studio filled with lights. Drag and literally drop that onto my background, and there's my background. This is not how it will render out. This is just a watered down version, if you like, of what's going to be the final render. From here I'm going to add some cameras. So over on the left hand side you notice there's the little beach ball again. Just click on that and we've got the appearances, decals and scenes. I'm going to go into my scenes and you'll notice here I've got camera, but I click on it and there's nothing there. That's because I need to right click and go to add camera, And what is on my right hand side now is what the camera can see. What is on my left hand side, I'm just scrolling out here, what is on my left hand side is where the camera is in space. Alright, you can use this gizmo here to, if I use the click on the blue arrow and move my mouse, I can move the camera closer, and you notice on the right hand side that that's getting updated in that particular viewing window. I can use the green arrow to move it up or down, and I can use the red arrow to move it to my left or to my right. Okay, so I'm going to have a little bit of a play with this just to get it into the right position. Just go a little bit closer, and I'm happy with that. There are loads of things that you can change in here. Okay, if you're into cameras and that kind of stuff, so you can change your lens. Okay, you've got 24s, 35s, 50 mils, you've got up to 200 mil there, or a custom angle. You've got things that you can play. You can play with the length of the distance to the viewing rectangle. So this distance here, you can increase that. Okay, you can decrease it. You can manipulate the height of the rectangle. Okay, you can play around with the aspect ratio if you want something in HD or widescreen, cinematic views, that kind of stuff. That's all done in here. And depth of field as well. If you want something a bit of in focus, out focus, you can play around with the depth of field and manipulate these values in here to get that kind of effect. So I'm happy with that. Okay, I'm going to click on the green tick. Okay, it is now in camera view. If I want to come out of camera view, I just literally right click and just deselect this. Okay, it's grey at the moment, so I'm in camera view. What I'm going to do now is go into my render tools. Now, in order for this to work, I need Solidworks add-in tab to be on my screen. If it's not there, you need to right click and you need to select it from this list. Okay, sometimes in Solidworks your screen can look a little like this, okay, without a render tools tab and without a add-ins tab. Just right click, choose add-ins, right click again and choose render. And you've got to make sure that when you're in your SolidWorks add-ins tab that Photo View 360 is turned on. Okay, we don't need SolidWorks Simulate on, so I can turn that off. The more things you have selected in here and grayed, that means that they're turned on, the slower the program's going to work. Okay, so it's having a big effect on the CPU. So I'm just going to take off SolidWorks Simulate and I'm going to turn on Photo View 360. I'm going to go into my render tools and I'm just going to click on render region. And I'm just going to make sure that this is capturing what I need, and I'm just going to crop it a little bit, otherwise it's going to take a long time in order to render. So that's going to be my render region, and I'm just going to click now on final render. And whilst this is rendering in the background, I'm going to go over into my question page and just take any questions from anyone, any feedback, that kind of stuff. So just going to take any questions now. If there's any questions from anyone about what has happened, or did you find it beneficial? Did you find it useful? If you can type any questions in the comment section, it would be appreciated. Has it worked? Has the audio been fine? Has the video been fine? Have the slides been good? What's worked? What's not worked? If you could get in touch, that'd be fantastic. So yeah, just another viewer that's just come in.